the last question is going to go to Ray Van Cott, so he'll be the first one to answer it. And the category is Future of Ford's Colony / Vision. Will you describe your vision of Ford's Colony in the next 3 to 5 years? So Ray, why don't you go first?
All right, so my vision of Ford's Colony is that Ford's Colony remains the vibrant community that it's actually been built into. It is so easy for a community to go stale, especially a community that it's a private community like we are, where everything from the roadway through the infrastructure to the activities, everything is paid for by the individual. There is no government. There is no. So it's a community that we decide what we want. And I mentioned this when a question like this came up earlier. Freshness has to have a continuation. So the Ford's Colony that people moved into 10 years ago remains as vibrant to them and as important to them and as fresh to them as you move to the next 10 years. It is allowed to get stale. So my vision of Ford's Colony is frankly a continuation of the continued refreshment of the colony so that it remains vibrant and relevant to the next group of people who move in. I think if you're looking for more operational and practical matters, we are faced with some challenges coming into next with building. The Brian Ford apartments will have to be managed. Those will have to be managed, and they'll have to be managed in a way that they cause the least impact to the quality of life that we have now. There are other smaller parcels of land that fit the same category, where they're undeveloped and they're allowed to be multi-family, multi-generational. So the fact is, we've got those challenges in front of us that are real, and our goal should be the continued refreshment and vibrancy of our community that makes it relevant when we bought it 10 years ago, relevant today, and relevant as we move into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, you're next.
Keeping it at a really high level, which is really what we need to do with this question, with the question that says, what's the vision for the next 3 to 5 years? You know, it's as much of what we do as how people feel. And I think I'd go after a question about vision in a couple of ways. The first is that our vision is to continue to sustain the resident experience. It's a term that I use. The resident experience is when we come through the gates, how we want to feel. We want to feel secure. We want to feel comfortable. We want a home. The resident experience is very, very critical for us to sustain in any regard. I think the second vision is that we continue and even increase the dynamism within the community. People don't want to feel anymore that they've retired and they're, just kind of coasting. People want to be involved. People want to be excited by the surroundings. People want to be challenged. And we need to send that message and back it up with the right services and amenities. And I think a third vision is probably to the future: adapt, change, know what our target audience, know what we need to do to meet their needs, and then design the future state of the community to meet those changing requirements. And I think if it's a 3 to 5 year vision, it has to be a question of how do we update our design for the community? How do we update our expectations? So I think those are the 3 ways we get after it.
Thank you, Rick. Bob Boccio?
I think 3 to 5 years forward, we need to take into account what we've accomplished already. I mean, this community is 25 years old. We've done a pretty good job of small improvements, most of which have been, I'd almost call unilateral improvements, not overall improvements. We've got some visions that we'd like to make this multi-generational. We've got a good start on that. I don't think we're attending to that as much as we think. One thing we keep getting confronted with is doing surveys and getting ideas of people and not having any idea how we're going to pay for it. So we've made some adjustments in how we think we would save for things such as that. I think the CIF that we've had, the Capital Improvement Fund, was a good attempt at that. It needs to be worked a little bit. But going forward, I think we need to make some minor adjustments going forward. I think we're doing very well with the community. It's very attractive when people come in. We've got plenty of activities. Nobody can complain that there aren't a lot of activities. It's pretty easy to start another one. I don't think we need any work in that arena. So I think we need to get a little more modern. And I expressed that with the IT idea earlier, that we need to refresh some of the things we do here to make it a little more current. But that's my vision going forward. Thank you.
Daphne?
I find this a really hard question to suggest it's a really good one. I think 3 to 5 years is a relatively short horizon if you want to try and state something that's different than what we have right now. So the 3 to 5 year horizon, I think for me, is that Ford's Colony would basically be what it is right now. But as Ray says, refreshed, and we need to keep current as we go. But I would not envision that Ford's Colony would anyway be significantly different than it is now in 3 to 5 years. It's a relatively short horizon if you're looking for a different statement than the current position. So that's sort of what I would say. I love Ford's Colony the way it is. We definitely need to change. Would it be exactly the same? No. If you asked in 20 years, then I think maybe it would need to be significantly different than it is now.
Okay, thank you. Roy?
I'm going to answer this just in a little different way, because I think this really speaks to a little bit of emotion. Years ago, when my wife and I were considering where we were going to live, okay, somebody came up to us and said, you should look at this place, someplace in Southern North Carolina, etc., because it's the 4th best community that you can live in. And we said, yeah, that's kind of nice, okay, etc. And my wife went back in and she started to look into all the things. And guess what the #1 place to live was Ford's Colony. Okay. So when I look at what should be happening as we go forward, is that when anybody is looking at a type of community where they want to consider to live, I want to see Ford's Colony being at the top. Okay. May not always be the very top, but I would like to have it be at the top. Okay. And that gets a little bit to what Ray was saying. It's got to be fresh. It's got to consider not only what people want today, it's got to consider what people want tomorrow, okay? And so it isn't necessarily a simple A, B, and C right now. Is that these are things that we've got to consider and think of so that whenever that question is asked, and it was asked in the survey, would you recommend Ford's Colony, is that we always get, okay, a top answer. Okay, if we do that, we're being a success.
Thank you, Roy.